all to the Wednesday edition of Community and the Constitution. Hope everybody's had a good week. Nothing too exciting happening in your life, I hope. And I hope you also that you've had plenty of time to catch up on some of the studies. Thank you all for joining us here. Jesse, you're on the line, dear.
Hello.
There you are.
Howdy, everybody. Hi, Doc. How you doing?
Doing just fine. Just scrolling through the chat rooms here. I posted 2 links already in both of the chats. Today we're going to finish up treason by design, and then we're going to start moving into dual citizen. The dual citizenship PDFs and threads and all expect to take us a good, at least I'd say probably close to a month to get through. So that's going to be the only link you're going to need for a while. This one particular link that hopefully we'll get into and start tonight is packinlaw.org/DUAL for dual. And that'll open that link just in case you're not in the chat room tonight. And then, of course, we're going to finish off, though, treason by design. Last week we covered a lot of information. I hope everybody's had a chance to read over that. Now, we did start to get into our treason by design paperwork, and we got down to let the genocide begin. But I'm going to scroll up just one. We're going to backtrack one section here. War in proper format. This is so important that we really grasp the understanding of what's going on here. Well, this is all about the so-called Civil War. And it also helps us understand and comprehend better what our, each state is as far as a nation and a country. How the USA, in any shape, dare, form up, is not nor ever has been a country. We've learned last week about the de jure and the de facto. One being de jure, which is of right, or also referred to as closer to the organics of the Constitution prior to the Reconstruction Acts, and then the de facto, which is better known as democracy. So hopefully by now you've had a chance to get that link open. If you have any questions, please call in or put them in chat. We will scroll through the chats quite often. Call a number, as always, 714-868-0749. With that, let's go over war in proper format. Now, to make a point, as discussed above, we know that California and Nevada are deemed nations under international law. Let us say that one nation attacked the other. In other words, declared war on the other for reasons or another. If you were a member of the nation of the Nevada Republic, which you would have allegiance to, there's that key word, allegiance, folks. That's why the Pledge of Allegiance is all part of the indoctrination. And I'm not sure if we've hit that show or not and covered that, but if you go to my show homepage under our team, you will see the pledge. And I'll have to go over because I can't remember what class we're up and what order we put that in, but we'll cover that. That's a short one. We can do that another time.
I'm lost. Where are we?
About halfway down to war in proper format.
Which one? Dual system or treason by design?
No, treason by design, dear. We're still finishing that up.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, which would have allegiance to? In other words, your allegiance belonged to the individual state that you were a member of, that you were born in. Well, most likely born in. And it was your republic. The founders created the republic. But you hear time and time again for the last, 100 years about the democracy and how wonderful democracy is. No, democracy is evil, folks, in a lot of ways. That's why we're out there, they're pushing democracy all over the globe. That's a New World Order issue. Well, let's continue. So how can you go to war against California, which you also have allegiance to? You can't fight on two sides, folks. The division of the North and South. You can't fight for the North and the South at the same time, as an example. And expand on the premise You may have heard that the Confederate soldiers in the Civil War were deemed rebels. Well, again, this is not correct. In other words, in saying this is fraud. And we're going to learn that in the rebels definition, a term loosely but incorrectly applied to the Confederate forces engaged in the Civil War. Now, when you look at these documents, again, we explained that last week, you're going to see all those codes. That'll bring you into the references of the case, different case laws and different locations as we go through that we can use our law dictionaries for to look this up. So why? Well, there was no breach of allegiance to their nations, their individual state. There was no breach of contract. Okay, there was a law. The war, so-called Civil War, was complete pursuant to all international laws, folks. All right, it was an international war, a war between nations, individual states, courts. Supreme Court and all that properly call it the war between the states. There was nothing civil about it. Now let's move into let the genocide begin. What are we seeing in actually the real purpose of the so-called Civil War? Is genocide. This is the melding of many nations into one, which essentially destroys their ability to be sovereign. It's another word, we covered that in the first lessons with the Patriot Misbelief document, and that was one of the topics we covered was sovereign, because you hear all these people running around. If they're sovereign, I'm a sovereign citizen. Yeah, hello. Sorry, not possible. So according to further illustrate this farce, let's look at the definition of Title 8, United States Code 1401. The following shall be nationals and citizens of the United States at birth. A person born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. A person born in the United States to a member of an Indian, Eskimo, Aleutian, or other aboriginal tribe, provided that the granting of citizenship under this subsection shall not in any manner impair or otherwise affect the right of such person to tribal or other property. Note the above statutory reference states a person born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof shall be a national and citizen of the United States at birth. This noted status is further defined by Title 8, United States Code 1101, A22 definitions. The term national of the United States means a citizen of the United States. In other words, a citizen of the United States is a national of the United States. Pursuant to the 14th Amendment operations, you have one nationality only, United States nationality. Of course, this is repugnant to the constitutional law and the law of nations, but again, this was all in the hidden design of the so-called Civil War, as established by its orchestrators. The communists are further reproached with desiring to abolish countries and nationalities. You don't recognize that, folks? That's one of the planks of the Communist Manifesto. All 10 planks, by the way, of the Communist Manifesto have been fulfilled here in the United States. The government of consent. Now this brings us back to the to the original question posed. Now, if you remember at the beginning of this article, we asked you two questions. What government have you consented and or submitted to? Well, according to the operations of the 14th Amendment, you have submitted yourself to the general jurisdiction of the federal government. General jurisdiction. Get that? This has been accomplished through various operations of law. Your silence and also by overt acts that you have done. But here is the unconscionable act, overt act, You may refer to it as the setup. It is a fact that you have to be a new citizen of the United States, a federal citizen, to vote in elections. You may verify that fact by searching your state statutes regarding voting. Now, although it is hard to see as the language is intentionally written to confuse people, if you decipher Section 2 of the 14th Amendment, you will see that the de facto states or governments truly only represent people who are voting, with others being put in a perilous limbo land. Remember earlier in this article, it was mentioned that it is a crime to vote. Now we can take a look at how this is done. The pertinent text found in Section 2 of the 14th Amendment illustrates to us that it is a crime to vote. This is so evil, it is beyond belief. The right to vote at any election is denied except for participation in rebellion or other crime. What? Did you hear that? The right to vote at any election is denied. In other words, you're not permitted except if you are participating in rebellion or other crime. Right there, it's telling you, folks, if you're a good guy, you can't vote. You must be participating in rebellion or committing another crime in order to be able to vote. You're a criminal. It tells you right in the wording. This isn't brain surgery. We just haven't seen. We've read the words but not understood them before. Okay. What's it mean to be in rebellion? Well, that is to throw off, which is also the definition of, the title of this paper, treason. And this is what we're going to get into. A lot of people don't understand. Everybody says, the treasonous acts of the presidents. Really? The unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional. Really? Because I'm going to prove to you in law that it's not either. And that you are the real rebellions. You, by your voting, are the real treason. And by the way, folks, it does carry a penalty. And we'll get into that more later on. Understanding that you cannot create new citizens of the United States without having to violate constitutional principles and rules of international law. The lawful government of the several states of the American Union needed to be usurped. In other words, they needed to absorb it like a sponge. They had to get rid of it some way, somehow. They had to make it disappear and make it part of the whole. That's what the word usurped means, to use it up. This is done by making voters unwittingly throw off their allegiance, there's that key word again, to their lawful government. Your lawful government, folks, is your Republican government of your rightful country, i.e. the state in which you were born. This clause, illustrated in Section 2 of the 14th Amendment, accomplishes this. By operations of law, under the amendment, the citizens of the several states are made into criminals. By voting as a United States citizen or citizen of the United States, you join in the rebellions noted in Section 2 of the 14th Amendment. When you vote as such a person or do not denounce the fraudulent United States citizenship by proper process, that's the process of expatriation, you are joined in rebellion against your constitutional state government. You then give silent and paramount allegiance to the insurgent governmental system over your lawful state government. The crime referenced is rebellion, hence is treason. Treason can be found mentioned in the body of the Constitution under Article 3, Section 3. It is defined as follows. Treason. This word imports a betraying, treachery, or breach of allegiance. Okay? By you breaching your allegiance to your rightful state and turning power over to another, you are committing a crime. The crime is treason. The Constitution of the United States, Article 3, Section 3, defines treason against the United States to consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid or comfort. This offense is punished with death. Get this, folks? I'm going to give you a little bit more information on that. Why do you think voting is supposed to be done in secret? Nobody's supposed to witness you vote. You get the little shields up usually, you go sit around with a clipboard at, don't let anybody watch what you're voting, you got to do it in secret. People think it's to protect your privacy so nobody harasses you about who you voted for. No, the reason for that is because it requires two witnesses of the act. In other words, if two people see you voting, they can then bring charges against you. You will be charged with treason and could be put to death. More than likely, you will only serve about 2 years in prison for voting. Get that, folks? Start waking up here. The whole system is designed to rob you. They rob you of your nationality. They rob you of your freedom. And by their trickery, helps you or tricks you into engaging in criminal actions. All right, so we call the president, treasonous acts. He should be, really? The word reports of a betraying, treachery, or breach of allegiance. He's not breached his allegiance. Not at all. Because what people don't realize is when you become a politician, your status changes in a way. And because they're part of and the CEO of the United States, that is who his allegiance is to. So he's not breaching his allegiance. So therefore, he's not committing treason. No. Treachery? Maybe. But guess what? Reconstruction Acts, you're not allowed to question the debt. That also falls under betraying. Who's he betraying? He's furthering the corporation. And because all of a sudden I use that word, the corporation. Remember, folks, no magic date. All municipalities, all governments, all USA from the day one, 1776, July 4th, as we celebrate it, all right, has always been a corporation. There was no magic date that incorporated. So when you hear these patriots out there claiming, we're going to go back to the magic date, sorry, you ain't got a clue of what you're talking about and obviously know zero about law. All right, to further expand, insurgent and rebel are defined by Noah Webster. This is 1828 version as follows. Insurgent, a person who rises in opposition to civil or political authority. One who openly and actively resists the execution of laws. See insurrection. An insurgent differs from a rebel. The insurgent opposes the execution of a particular law or laws. A rebel attempts to overthrow or change government. Or he revolts and attempts to place his country, means your rightful state, under another authority. Hello, United States of America. All rebels are insurgents, but all insurgents are not rebels. Right? So all you voters out there, all you U.S. citizens, you're rebels. You're breaking the law. You're throwing off your rightful country of birth and giving the power of authority, handing it over to the corporation, the United States of America. Right? Insurgents don't have to be U.S. citizens. They simply oppose the execution of particular law or laws. So this is why it's very clear, Sometimes it gets a little confusing. You may have to read that several times before it sinks in. Okay, so that's why all rebels are insurgents, but all insurgents are not rebels. Okay. It is asked of you, is this not fitting? In addition, see this definition that further illustrates the matter of rebellion against the lawful governments of the several states. Insurrection, a rebellion of citizens or subjects of a country against its government. It's exactly what you've done. You've been tricked into doing it. But that's exactly what you have done. To reiterate, treason imports of betraying, treachery, or breach of allegiance, and insurrection is a rebellion of citizens or subjects of a country against its government with purposes of turning their country over to another authority. This alternate governmental system that seeded itself after the so-called Civil War can be evidenced in Section 3 of the infamous amendment. This particular section has also been very crappily executed. The insurgent 14th Amendment governmental system has to uphold the organic Constitution pursuant to other clauses in Section 3. This had to be done, or the de facto participants, i.e. the government officers, would be considered to be in rebellion also. All right. See how this works? As I said, politicians are not rebels. They're not rebelling. Because this whole thing is set up as a voluntary system. And they have no choice under law but to uphold the organic. And what we teach you in the advanced classes, as you learn more and more about this, and if you joined us last Thursday, I think we went over expatriation, and I gave you all the key words for that. And the proper way to fill out the right, correct paperwork and all is the process that the People's Awareness Coalition, which has been around for almost 15 years, folks, doing this with no problems, no issues whatsoever. Nobody else in this movement can claim the same. Plus, we're probably the only ones in the movement to have our own textbook. When you get a chance, please look up the Red Amendment. It's a TRA. You find that at any of our PAC sites. Or simply type in TRA, the Red Amendment, and get your copy. And that'll help you with your studies. All right. Wherefore, they are deemed insurgents for not following some of the laws. It is the people voting that have turned over the political power of their states or countries to the federal government. Secretly, the new voters are the true rebels in this orchestrated war. The war has never ended, folks. This is what people understand. The Civil War, the so-called Civil War, has never ended. Martial law, when first declared by Abraham Lincoln, General Order 100, has never ended. They don't teach you this stuff. Yet they should. And that goes into much more detail on Thursday night advanced classes. Voter registration is prima facie evidence of rebellion. In reality, as I just explained a little while ago, two people actually have to see a person vote, or the personal admission of the voter to fill the requirements for treason. So in other words, personal admission. I can walk in with a video camera to any meeting, any place where there's a gathering of people, and videotape and say, hey, by the way, who's here? How many people here voted this year? And people get all excited, don't they? Hey, yeah, I voted. I didn't ask who you voted for. Hey, did you vote this year? Yeah, hey, remember, it's your patriotic duty. Get out there and vote. Did you vote? And you put your hand up and say, yeah, I did. Good. Here you go. Here's the videotape evidence. Officer, arrest everybody who raised their hand in this room and take them away. That's the law, folks. You just admitted you are committing treason. The only people who can arrest you for this act in the states is the sheriff department. The elected sheriff has the power and authority to do this. And if more and more people start standing out there with video cameras and do it exactly the way I just said and force the hands of the law, we can take this country back before the next election ever occurs. Just something to think about. Voting is the crime. And I recommend you get the voter cancellation letter that's attached to all the PAC sites. Don't have that particular link open at the moment, but I'll get that for you later. Or if Jesse or Jose, if I don't even know if Jose logged in yet or not, can find that cancellation letter, go ahead and get that put into the chat rooms, please. All right. But who is to truly enforce this when the ones who have installed this plot or bad joke are the ones in control? Now, this is why I said only the sheriff can do it, and the elected sheriff. There's a big difference between appointed and elected. Undoubtedly, this is why voting is taught to be confidential. Voters are actually traitors. As such, voters and their cohorts known as United States citizens have unwittingly tossed their constitutional government system aside. They are then treated as public enemy and given privileges as rebels. There you go, folks. You're given privileges. You have no rights. You're a slave as a citizen. You are subject to their jurisdiction. You have no rights. You have privileges granted to you by your owner, the federal government, to its rebels, those who have put them in power. This whole scenario nullifies natural rights as secured by the Constitution. Nullifies, non-existent. That's why you got to get permits for everything. Permits equal permission. If you had a right to do something, you could simply do it. No permit required. No permission required from mommy or daddy. The lawful societal law, the custom and usage law, the common law is then discharged. It's done away with. A system of private law, which is your statute laws, has been put in its place. The new citizens are now controlled by the United States and the state wherein they reside. So you've got two owners there. This is what this whole dual citizenship we're going to get into later on tonight. One could say that the self-inflicted de facto states are actually penal colonies under the color of war. Not law, but war. Now we get into some of the good news. Your rightful status preserved. So, are you asking yourself, what does this all really mean? And are you asking the following? How can my rights be taken away? And why do I have to be involved in criminal activity or be associated with criminals? The answer to the former is, they cannot. The answer to the latter is, you do not. The factors surrounding this evil plan are that the lawful rights of people who do not want to participate or are preserved. You do not have to be a citizen. And here's the law on it. Once again, the sad truth is this is just a clever scheme to make you subject to both the state and federal governments. However, the good news is that de facto governments have to uphold the principles of the organic Constitution. Hence, there is a congressional cure. See and study, and most importantly, understand Title 8, United States Code 1481. When you complete that task, you should understand the following found in Title 8, of the United States Code. This is also what some of what we covered, and we read the Congressional Act from the 15 statutes at large. That's the volume 15. On our advanced classes the other day, we went over them in full detail. Covered several pages, and I gave you all the key words. The term alien, and I'm not talking UFO, guys. The term alien means any person not a citizen or national of the United States. Now let us reference this definition from Title 8 of the United States Code. The term national means a person owing permanent allegiance to a state. Get that? Now, behold true constitutional liberty. Title 18th, United States Code 242. Deprivation of rights under color of law, criminal. Whoever, under color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom, willfully subjects any person in any state, territory, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or to different punishments, pains, or penalties on account of such person being an alien. Get that, folks? Everybody thinks they're talking about citizens here. They're not. Remember, we're talking about aliens. The alien, non-citizen, all their rights and privileges and immunities and security and protection are all secured. They don't need permits. They don't need permission. And anyone who denies them on account of such person being an alien shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. There is your constitutional liberty. For one to be immune to deprivation of rights done under color of law, i.e. private law, the statutes, and have true liberty under this insurgent system of government installed by the infamous 14th Amendment, one has to be an alien. As you can see, having the citizen and national of the United States status creates many hidden liabilities. The syllabus, so the question is, have you unwittingly breached your allegiance to your native state? As you can clearly see, Mr. Spooner had insight on the planned servitude of our American nations and his piece, No Treason. Suitably, he stated this about the silent ballot. Submit quietly to all the robbery and slavery we have arranged for you, and you can have peace. That's a threat, folks. You submit quietly to us robbing you and enslaving you because they have arranged this privilege for you, and we'll let you live in peace. We'll let you have peace. You're starting to get this, I hope. Hope you're starting to wake up, folks. Time to learn the law and not all the hype and the BS out there. All right, Jess, you want to grab it from the top of this page?
Yeah, just a second. I had to take care of my son.
Oh, no problem, dear.
Are you kidding me? Oh, I gotta restart my machine. My stupid cat stepped on the power button. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Ultimately, the instrumental blow came after the so-called Civil War. The conversion of Americans' lawful state citizenship and nationality under international law has been slowly implemented not to draw attention. People in the freedom movement have gone deep into the issue of state citizenship. However, they have have not found the true key. The appropriate index is nationality. Remember, in Elk versus Wilkins Supra, the court had stated that a citizen of the United States owes political allegiance to the United States. However, inherent constitutional political allegiance is to your state. All other governments are foreign, alien, including the United States. Thus, Americans with proper status, which is what we teach, nationals of the states, are aliens as per law of the United States. This legal premise existed under the organic Constitution that also regarded citizens to be aliens to sister states in the Union. Under original constitutional premises, generally the federal government has nothing to do with the American people. 14th Amendment established a new constitution that runs concurrently with the organic or original Constitution. All subsequent amendments are part of the bastard Constitution and or government of consent under the 14th. And if you have not guessed it by now, the Pledge of Allegiance is brainwashing propaganda that was of purpose to get all Americans to buy into the one nation under fraud. The herein noted material is a planned, extensive, progressive scheme that has been contrived by words, disinformation, and designed ignorance. There is only one method to remove the 14th Amendment noose from your neck. Such method is congressionally conferred and is well hidden by design. It is ventured that most government servants do not know about it. The question is, who does know, and are they willing to fix it? Well, folks, the answer to that is we know. And we're teaching you. So you can fix this. So you can be free once again. That's the end of our treason by design. Jesse, did you get back in there, kiddo?
Yeah, my stupid cat toggled my freaking switch on my power strip, so shut everything down.
Oh, no problem. Before we get into this next document, I want to give a shout out to all the chat rooms, and also we have William Board with us here. We're going to make his mic live there in just a bit. Sarah and a bunch of guests over here in Blog Talk Radio chat. And, of course, we have over in our Freedom Range chat, we have Deatra with us tonight. Always glad when she can pop in. And, of course, Jesse's there. And pleased to meet you and Chris and a couple of anonymouses as well. Not sure what happened to Jose today. He must have got stuck at work or something or off doing a project. That'd probably be the first show that I know of that he's missing a long, long time. But that's okay. All good. Or he's just having internet problems. All right. William, you there? William. Bill. Okay. I think we lost him. Well, if he comes back, he may have stepped away there for a minute. His mic is live. Just let me go over here 1 second. Checking. Yeah. I let him know I have his mic live in case he's muted on his end. But he has a question. He put a link.
Sir.
Oh, there he is.
Wow. I went and got coffee. Sorry about that.
All good, my friend. How you doing tonight?
Good. I just mulling over the treason in the White House and everything. It's unbelievable.
the way they do this to us, I mean, they're very patient. I have that respect only for the whole New World Order, progressive movement, whatever title you want to put on it. They're very patient.
Well, it's an illusion perceived patience. They're trying to treason. They're trying to trespass on people, and bank robbers are usually very patient and don't usually go rushing in and shooting places up and grabbing money. I mean, a majority of them will lie in wait and do whatever. People voted for Sotoro when I very specifically for the last 5 years posted, no, he will sell out at the last minute, treason, trespass, because he is lazy. He was lazy in class. He was lazy in school. It's just common sense stuff. When I knew him in class, he was Barry Sotoro. He didn't start changing his name till '82. In all fairness, even when I fill out an application, have you ever had a name change, whether legal or not, for security reasons, especially when you're president over the military or presiding over the military, and especially, for national security reasons? He lied on his application. He's a trespassing, treasonous violation, and stereotypical. What I said 4 years ago, he'll grab up the guns. You watch. People, no, he's no. Please, people, do not be emotionally drugged up. Please see reality for what it is. And sure as shit, well, it's not him, it's the power behind the throne. Yeah, it's the power behind the throne, and he's a sellout. So you don't want him there. Period.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm ranting, and I'm sorry.
No. There's another reason why I said from day one, even when he was in the Senate, I said you had to watch out for this guy. I've been telling people this for years, on the radio and out publicly, speaking out.
This is why I love you.
The birth certificate. I don't care about the all this other avenues that all these people are going down. To try to bring me out. Oh, there's multiple Social Security. Oh, the different names. Oh, the fake birth certificates. None of that.
Yeah, he killed his grandmother too.
There's one reason why he's not eligible to be commander-in-chief.
Now, let me just say real quick. Besides being an international spy, please proceed.
Yep. Besides that, there's actually a lawful reason why he's not. And this we covered in our advanced classes because a lot of people don't understand it. The law is very clear on what it requires of the President of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
To be a natural-born citizen. Okay, no problem. Let's say he was born in Hawaii.
Yeah.
All right, no problem.
Not Kenya, Hawaii, but where he was.
Born in...
Even his grandmother, who died like a week later after saying, "No, I was there in Kenya when he was born," and a week later she dies of mercury poisoning. Oh my God! Oh jeez! Oh my God!
If we take that wholly, it's a constitutional guidelines. It's under constitutional guidelines. Can't remember the exact article and whatnot off the top of my head, but it very clearly lays out the presidential guidelines.
Yeah, and in all fairness, even going back a few years, outdated if it is or is not, it very much specified the continental United States.
Right.
Did it not?
Both parents must be U.S. citizens.
That's right. There's a violation. His father, a British subject in 1961, conflict of interest, a subject under British rule. His father, 1961, his stated father.
Exactly. I've been saying this since the beginning. And even in the Senate, people, what's it matter? Because I'm not running for president. Because they used that argument against him when he was running for Senate. And they were like, well, that only requirements for the president, and I'm not running for president. That was his own word.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just common sense. I know. I wouldn't argue that about being a senator, but that's a very clear-cut reason that they knew ahead of time, which would very much suggest other things. Now, let's just use our imagination. Just put that all aside for just a second. I'll say he's born in Utah. Couldn't give a rat's ass. For one thing, he lied on his application, and I wrote it down, documented it before his first swearing in back in 2008. I wrote this in June of 2007. That guaranteed watch, he will deliberately screw up his swearing in lines on live TV. Well, how do you know this? Did you time travel for? No, I didn't. I know for a fact he will, because he would have to. Otherwise, he'd be perjuring himself. And sure as shit, did he not? They had to do the ceremony in private. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Very specific. Yeah, and I wrote that down. I wrote down, among other things, I wrote down, got a good look ahead. I wrote down about Fukushima disaster 4 years before it happened. And just to give other people to chomp on, entitled it "Japan Earthquake 2011." Based in the industry, I've been involved in all my life with the CIA and Navy. And guess who was a fellow company person with me? A guy named Barry Soetoro. Guess what the photo album, the pictures show? It shows me 13 years old in class with a guy, Barry Soetoro, and shows Regina Dugan, the former head of DARPA, and shows Andrew Bishaga. What do you know? All those people professed, or a majority of those people profess former CIA people, including Ed Dames, renowned remote viewer. What do you know? Oh, amazing. It's Regina, former head of DARPA, goes over to Google. Google is a company-owned company. As everybody pretty much generically, professes to, which it is. It was basically started out, agency started it, then kind of released it to the hands, and then absconded on it around 2002, 2003, I think, somewhere around there. Yeah, but it's just ludicrous what the people don't know, and it's ludicrous that the guy never informed the public that he's had a name change in his lifetime. And these are just you there? Yeah. People would just, for what I have to say, what Andrew Bishaga has been saying, what Laura Eisenhower, the great-granddaughter of President Eisenhower, what the Apollo astronauts have been coming out about, which very much corroborates what we've been talking about, very much gives strong indication, or at least compelling evidence, that our testimony about Barry Soetoro being in the Mars program and flunking out, very much was known as Barry Soetoro. When you're a company, seriously, when, agency, CIA, when your company, one shop, always shop, you stated your name truthfully. We always talk very truthfully. If you ran naked with gerbils in front of congressmen and senators, then, if you felt like stating it, you stated it, if it was relevant. And that was just bottom line. That's just how it is. And, the class photo very much shows Barry Soetoro, who indisputably is in the photo, and it comes with negatives, and they've been chemically compositely tested as being processed sometime in the mid-'80s. It's just it's undeniable. And there's a lot of other things too, but we're still at the draw the shills out phase. But he lied on his application and is disqualified, and definitely disqualified from repetitioning for that job, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
No, citizens and people in general here in the Union, we've been so dumbed down by the education, by our society on a whole, and it's been for many, many years. And because of that, we don't see the obvious. And that's why with my beginner classes here, we go over the basics. We get to understanding what treason really is, what a rebel, who is a rebel, what is the actual name of the so-called Civil War, how each state of the Union are individual countries, how the United States of America, any form thereof, has never been a country. That there is no magic date for the corporation. It's always been, just like all municipalities, any government, state, at any level, they're all corporate.
Yeah, it's a company.
And dude,
but
the only people who do that is a corporation. It's been that way since day one. But we get so blinded by these patriot groups out there who try to come up with these whimsical ideas, and that's what we have in our first classes and our basics, was understanding the basics of all their craziness, such as the freeman on the land, the sovereign citizen, all these.
It's a republic. We are a republic, and that will maintain, despite of how many times they try getting George Bush to buy up ammunition companies or whatever. And we are a republic, despite how it's labeled. I grew up in a republic, and that is what it's going to remain. Regardless, it may fall apart, but it's not going to fall apart in their benefit. I put a petition in the chat site, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Can I give it a plug?
Yeah, I actually have it up at the moment as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's and this is pretty much way too late, anyways. But better safe than sorry, anyways. I mean, include that the NSA, National Security Agency, be listed and liable to any new laws written from this day forth. They basically destroyed all the other petitions back a long time ago, and then they all of a sudden just stopped messing with the links and stuff back in 2009, 2010. Basically says to include the NSA shall be liable and listed to any bills written into law from this point forward. That the NSA be held accountable to any laws as any person, agency, or company is. Not very well written, but I don't care. They just have to acknowledge. To also acknowledge that the NSA is currently and intentionally established to not be bound to any laws that it was not that it has not been specifically listed as being liable to that law. As everyone knows, at 3 a.m, when everybody went home, they passed about 5 years ago. They passed through Congress or whatever. They passed into law that the NSA was not liable to any law unless it was specifically listed as being liable to that law in the bill that became law. And that's called lawless.
Yep.
I mean, it's NSA and it's
NSA is National Security Agency.
Yes, and and they're and they should have to follow rules like everybody else. It's because they just don't know how to didn't have enough forethought, especially, and they really have no excuse, especially with all the equipment that we were using back and still using today. I mean, just to give people an idea, you can understand how I wrote about Fukushima 4 years before it happened. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that one. And
open. A lot is people think they're awake, but really you're just deeper asleep. And as they get basic down, the light starts.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean,
3 years teaching that self, multiple black. I mean, we're not hiding. We're out there. We tell people the truth. We're not getting arrested. We're not getting threatened. They don't come and bother us because we do it lawfully. And that's the big difference between us and them as far as the other ones in these so-called patriot movement. But everybody's hurting. Right? Economy's hurting. Everybody's struggling to make ends meet. And a lot of that is because we have forgotten the basics. We have forgotten what was taught to our great-great-grandparents with the, save for the rainy day. Don't buy it if you can't afford it in cash. We're all bummed down with the debt and the credit, the loans, because they made it so easy.
Well, yeah. That's some of that, is actually very innocent, and actually, some things are in place to try and alleviate, and it really shouldn't be mixed in with the people that are trying to do it also to create an inconvenience. There are some good departments and parts of the government that are still good, and there's a lot that's not. But I hope that people discern the difference, or not, or at least continue to try to discern the difference. There is a difference, but it's almost indistinguishable at this point. But yeah. Really, the reason why I've been coming forward was to give, people, to let people have, see the main factors, hidden factors, and the prime movers why everything perpetuates to where it is, the real reasons. And there's just a lot of things in industry that people would just be like, "Oh my God, you're insane! Get out of here."
Yeah.
And I've used a majority of this equipment. I've time traveled. I've teleported all over the United States, on and off planet. And a lot of people else are coming forward, like Laura Eisenhower, Andrew Basiago, who's actually a legend in the industry. You people like, come on, time travel. I'm like, yeah, everything's a wave. It's just converted more into a wave for teleporting or TTN. We can't physically go back into the past. We have to do it via plasma confinement, where you're kind of like a spectral image. Where you kind you have tangibility. It gives credence as to why Confederate soldiers, were, I shot that boy point blank range, or at point blank, and he just ran off, because he was plasma confined. He was he was a kid that they didn't use adults back in the day because they would collapse the field. Their belief system, and kids, they see a soldier with a gun as a soldier with a gun. It's an observable universe, and it's a fixed universe, multiverse. And so our government, or the agency, for government, was going back and getting historic documentation as to the course of events, and a preservation program of the history of the United States and what really transpired. And it was national security, and that was primarily. Andrew Basiago was seriously the most instrumental person in that whole program, and that was back in the 70s. To give people an idea, this is old Tesla technology, and you can understand how Tesla was disappearing off stage and reappearing behind the audience. He was not a magician. He had a teleporter. He built himself a teleporter, and he built himself a receiving unit. And he was teleporting off stage. Hence was why the movie came out depicting a teleporter. And teleportation has been around for quite a while. It's a very old long wave technology. And people just would not, believe it. You look at these frickin' brilliant, master degrees of mainstream science idiots that claimed light to be a particle. A non-master's degree 3-year-old would tell you if light was a particle, it'd break the glass going through the bulb. Yeah, brilliant. They have to rewrite the books because they were wrong in the first place. Everything is a wave, all matter. All atoms are an over-unity device. is basically a gravity generator, is a wave function. All matter, the wooden desk in front of you, the computer, the laptop, whatever, it's all a wave, and it's converted more into a wave for teleporting. It's just accelerated, or you deaccelerate to go past, or you accelerate to go future. I TT'd back 2007 on a very desperate answer fact-finding thing. And no, I didn't witness Fukushima myself. I read about it in the paper when I was forwarded. And I wrote about basically as gently as good, suggestive that, on those bunch of sites. And, also emailed it to FBI and quite a few other people. that gets funny. That's humor in itself, really.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for the updates and the. If you call it Thursday night, William, do you prefer, or Bill, or?
William. I never go by Bill ever. No, William. I'm not Bill.
Call in on our Thursday, tomorrow night show, same time. We start at 7:00. That's our courses, and we cover and hit all kinds of topics like what you're talking on, and that join us on that night are a little bit more into the advanced stuff and have a better understanding of the things that you brought up tonight. And I just want to thank you and really appreciate you calling in tonight.
Well, I just hope to get Satoru out of office. I mean, he's done enough damage, and it's basically already too late, really. But it is and isn't, and I just think get him out while he can, people. I mean, really.
Yeah, because it is stuff like we cover in the Thursday night stuff. My big fear is because there is law on the books that would allow him, believe it or not, will allow any currently sitting president, which would be Obama,
your head.
To actually take over power permanently. People don't understand that, and we cover.
Yeah, I told you so. I said that back. I wrote that down too. 4 years ago. You watch.
Same thing. I thought really thought Bill Clinton was going to do it. I really thought he was going to do it, but he had a medical condition that prevented him from actually taking those steps, and they're finally starting to let some of that out in the public. He's actually suffering pretty bad from Alzheimer's disease.
Oh wow!
If the article I saw this morning on his, an update on his health and all, he's to the point now he doesn't even remember this time.
Oh wow! You're serious? Really?
Okay. It was in today's paper. It was in the paper today. So this is what I'm saying. This is why he couldn't do it, and I thought he was going to. I know. I just know. I'll say this as a prediction, whatever you want to call it. Obama's going to do this. He's going to. It's all set up. All the ducks are lined up.
He's trying to.
Trust me, he is the last sitting president.
Yeah. I said, at least not let them prove on the race card thing to prove that correct. But it ended with a black guy. Don't let them launder it on a black guy then.
There you go.
Yeah. He doesn't have to take the job. He doesn't have to apply. It's on him. I don't. They're just blaming. No. You don't do that and then do 2 banker bailouts or 3 banker bailouts or whatever. No, there's no excuse. I mean, come on. People out there is like, no. You don't get the whine. Oh, poor little Mr. $400,000 a year. Come on. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
It's ridiculous. He's killed more people than anyone has ever known. I mean, jeez.
Well, take a break here, please.
Yeah, thanks.
Love hearing from you. And so you can bring some more of that information forward to us. I'd appreciate it. Jesse, you're back on. Did you get that link open, dear?
Yeah, it's here. We're doing the dual system, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Good. All right, if everybody's ready, if Jesse, you start us off, I'd appreciate that.
I got little one on me, so just to let you guys know, you'll hear him in the background. Okay. Let's see. I cannot read today.
The forensic
Provisions of the dual system of law effectuated by the 14th Amendment. Okay. Introduction. This article will view the particulars of the dual legal system that has been established by the 14th Amendment in the United States Constitution. Its subject matter will encompass a general overview of adverse conditions of which said amendment has set forth in regard to the freedom and liberty of Americans. The matters included herein will reference the police power of the state in relation to its application to the several citizen members, referred to as residents, i.e., the law of the foreigner of any given state, and also relations to the nationals of the state, disenfranchised de jure citizens, in regard to such states of the Union. Did you need to say anything?
No, we're good.
Nationally de jure. To establish the true international premise of the American governmental system in its original foundation, one must imagine that the government of the Federation, the United States, or the United States of America, does not actually exist. It does not exist. In such case, that would make each state in the American Union a separate country. Accordingly, under rules set forth by international law, a state is a nation. See such terms defined below as they illustrate the principle. And my mouse is not working. State. A people permanently occupying, there it goes, a fixed territory bound together by common law, habits, and custom into one body, politic exercising through the medium of an organized government, independent sovereignty, and control over all persons and things within its boundaries, capable of making war and peace, and of entering into international relations with other communities of the globe. Nations or states are dependent bodies, politic societies of men united together for the purpose of promoting their mutual safety and advantage by the joint efforts of their combined strengths. Did you need to say anything?
Yeah, let's pause there. It's independent bodies, politics. Slow down a little bit, kiddo. As you see throughout many of the documents, almost all of our PDFs, you're going to find all these little numbers. Those are the footnotes. Usually we just skip over them because a lot of it we've already covered, so we don't need to get into it too deeply. But please, open the document yourself and read over the understanding and deeper. It'll give you not only where it's taken from, what law dictionary, such as Beauvair's Law Dictionary, 1856, which is the one most commonly used by us here. But it also gives you a little bit more detail and information that you may not have noticed before, and that you can pick up as you further your studies. Remember, folks, always do the background. Look it up yourself. Get into the habit of using that law dictionary. Right. Yeah, you can continue.
Sorry about that earlier. I'm, dealing with kiddo, so. Okay. Country. By country is meant the state of which one is a member. Every man's country is in general the state in which he happens to have been born. Oh, were we reading that or not?
That's one of the footnotes. That's what I was just explaining. All the PACT documents have those footnotes for you. And that is an example of the one where the word country came into, and a post the where it comes from, where it's written in the law, and that's how you would read and understand those. But no, we can skip through those. You can just keep on scrolling down to the larger print, where it says the foregoing are related to the international definitions of state and nation. This is by Blacks and Bouviers, respectively.
Now let us add the federal government back into the equation. The Constitution for the United States of America is nothing more than an international agreement between the American republics and their respective nations. Accordingly, in the forming of our federation, each state of the Union gave up some of their inherent rights of statehood that they possessed under general principles of the international law. However, one right the states did not give up is their respective and individual nations. This principle of law is exemplified in the provisions set forth by the 9th and 10th Articles and Amendment in the Constitution. To expand on the premises of each state in the Union being a nation, a citizen member of any particular nation carries the quality of nationality. See such defined below. You want me to stop or keep going?
You can keep going. Sorry, I had myself muted.
I thought my phone was overriding you again. I was like, damn it. Okay, I'll just go ahead and keep going. Let me know when you want me to stop.
I will.
Nationality. The state of a person in relation to the nation in which he was born. A man retains his nationality of origin during his minority, but as in the case of his domicile of origin, he may change his nationality upon attaining full age. He cannot, however, renounce his allegiance without permission of the government.
Yep. This is very important, folks. The law is clear, and we covered that in the advanced classes, of how you can reclaim your rightful nationality, or New Jersey and Florida and California and so on and so forth. However, you cannot renounce your allegiance as a U.S. citizen without the permission of the government. That is the only lawful path. And that's what we do here at the People's Awareness Coalition. We correct your status lawfully using the tools and guidelines set down by Congress prior to the passing of the 14th Amendment. And we covered that in the advanced classes with the 15 statutes of large. This comes right out of the Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 1856. So you must fill out the paperwork. You must submit it to the proper authorities. Okay? And then it's up to them to either accept or deny that paperwork. The only reason that they would deny such permission, because they're really not allowed to, except for in some circumstances, and that is if you have a unfulfilled contract. In other words, let's say you're currently in jail or prison. Obviously, you cannot do this because you're still under the contract of that penalty. That in other words, your jail time, your sentence. Same thing if you're on
child support.
Right. On probation. Okay. You still have a current unfulfilled or uncompleted contract with the United States government. So that contract has to be complete before you can, before they will grant you permission. And that's really the only reason would be because you're currently in some sort of contract. Now, like in such cases like Jesse's, the chancery courts, which are your child support and alimony and things like that, they're a mess. All right, they're a pain in the butt to deal with. They're a real headache to deal with. But again, although it's a pain in the butt, it should not be a reason utilized by them to not grant you the permission. In other words, I can't see them because I've not, and in 15 years, I've not had anybody tell us that we've had a problem doing that either. So this is not something new, folks. People have gone before us, have done this. People have been doing this for the last 140 years. Just nobody's told you about it. It took a long time. It took many, many years of study and research to perfect, for LB and his teams of researchers over all these years, to perfect the process so it would make it that much easier. Now it's basically a fill-in-the-blank form, if you will. You get them sent out, and it's not just one little simple letter. It's not just one little simple form. It's not one little thing you post like some of these people say, oh, just take an article out in the local newspaper denouncing your citizenship. Doesn't work that way. You have to ask permission to do this. Right? It has to be done right. And you know the way courts work and government works, all I's have to be dotted, all T's have to be crossed. So if you want to do it successfully and not be caught in a stateless status or expatriate, which we're going to get into, which again is what we talk about often here because that's what it's all about, to an outside of the Union country. It's just real simple, folks. Follow us, get the TRA, get our textbook, take the classes, read the material, do the research, and LB will gladly help you step by step getting this all done and taken care of for you. It's not that hard. There is about, I said it's not just one thing. It's about 28 pages in all. By the time you get done, it does take about 90 days on average, depending on, if you're debt free, what kind of, if there's mortgages in your name, so there's things that you have to get your ducks in a row, your personal ducks in a row before you can make this step. But even if you can't make that end zone, even if you can't make the touchdown, to use the sports analogy here, this information is a must for every one of us, because even though some of us are retired, even though some of us may take 5, 10, 15 years to accomplish the goal, to finally correct our status, there's no reason we can't learn the information and pass it on to the young generation, because they have to make this decision upon their 18th birthday, between 18 and 18 and a half, I think it is. That's when there's that gray area, if you will, where they ultimately make their decision. Either they blindly go about signing the selective service contracts, going into getting their driver's license contract. Anything that requires a signature is a contract. So if we can get our teenagers coming out of high school and getting them put and taught correctly about all this, and get them to do the process right from the get-go, because they have the lawful right to do so upon their 18th birthday. They can do this. It's real easy for them. They don't have all these other craziness that we have. They're not already tied into the system with a million contracts, because at 18, all contracts that your parents or another guardian may have signed you into technically and lawfully become null and void, because you cannot enter a contract under the age of 18. So that's why at 18, all that basically goes to sleep. That's your driver's license, your Social Security, your birth certificate, all that stuff that ties you to the fact that the system goes dormant. Now, you're still not free, because you still have to ask permission from the government to correct your nationality and leave the citizenship. However, you also don't have any more of those contracts tying you down that you have to worry about getting rid of. But the second you go and apply for that driver's license, the second you go and utilize your Social Security number at a job, which it's unlawful and they do not require your Social Security number. We do that in the advanced classes. We'll explain to you who, by law, are the only ones required to have that number, and your employer and your bank and all the rest, your doctor and all these other people out there, do not require it by law, whether you're a citizen or not. We just blindly give them the information. And they ask because they don't know any better. So, just something to keep in mind. We got to start understanding all these little things. That everything that requires a signature is a contract. And that's what it's all about. The contract makes the law. Above any other status law, above any other jurisdiction, above any allegiance, above anything. Any written law, custom and usage, private law of statutes and limitations, everything. The contract makes the law. It supersedes all else. And that's when you go to court on something, that's what the judge is ruling on. He's not ruling on constitutionality. He's not ruling on, anything else. Once he establishes jurisdiction, got a driver's license, boom, that's jurisdiction. Okay? That's been established. Then the only thing he's ruling on is the contract. By having the driver's license, you've contracted to be subject to the statute private laws. You go speeding, you get a ticket. That's the contract. The contract isn't signing the ticket. The contract is getting a driver's license to begin with. Okay? The ticket, yeah, because it requires your signature, is also a contract, although not a binding contract, because the way a ticket is written, and the way the printed part, not the part the officer fills in, but the written part, it's a assumption that you're going to be alive on that future date in order to attend court. Now, this is more of the advanced stuff, but just to help you understand, I cannot, in good conscience, sign a ticket because it states that my court appearance is 3 weeks from now. Well, I can't sign a contract saying I'm going to be there when I don't know if I'm going to be alive 1 hour from now, let alone 3 weeks from now. See how I'm trying to get your thinking to change here? Right? If you do have to, and they're going to make you sign it, you're going to have to sign it. No way really around it. But you sign it, all right, under distress and duress and coercion. You don't have to write the words out, just the initial. And he's going to cross it out. More than likely, if he notices it, I usually put it in as, if I have to, I do it as my middle name. So I would sign, David, U-D-C, Meola. They think it's my initials because they're not going to catch it right away. As long as you do it in a fluent stroke, they don't realize what you're doing. It's all in kind of conning as well. This way, when you go to court, you can say, hey, I'm here on an invitation because I didn't want to have a bench warrant issued out for me. I'm here upon this invitation, representing myself, whatever. As you can see, I only signed this contract, UDC, under duress, and coercion. So, boom, judge will throw it out. 99% of the time, they get thrown right out of court. As soon as the judge sees it, boom, it's thrown out. That's a way out for citizens. It's not really a way out, but it's at least a workaround that your attorney can utilize in your defense. But that goes way into advanced stuff. And we're not here about that. We're here to learn the truth about law, not how to play the games in their courtroom. Once you correct your status, you're no longer under their jurisdiction. You no longer need to be in their court at all. All right. That's the bottom line. All right. With status comes responsibility. And that's what it's all about, folks. Getting back to the personal responsibility. I got a couple of callers on the board. If you push the one on your keypad, that'll let me know you want to have a question or a comment and would like to get on air. If not, I'm just thinking you're just listening, which is fine. We thank you for doing so. And every once in a while, I flip through and try to catch these chats and that, especially when Jesse's reading gives me a break and allows me a chance to catch up on any questions that may appear in the chat room. Sorry I sidetracked you so much there, Jess.
That's fine. It's not a problem. It gave me some time to go sit and play with my son, so we're okay.
All right, good deal. Well, that's nationality. Like I said, you got to ask permission. Right? You got to be attain a full age, which is 18. Right? Can't do it beforehand, and then you can renounce your allegiance, but you have to do so with permission. That's where we left off at.
Want me to keep going?
Sure.
Okay. In reference to domicile, such is in direct relation to one's presence in a country. See premise of national domicile. In reference to allegiance, such is to the nation or state or origin, or his membership thereof, which is referred to as natural born. In our constitutional law. In further reference to the issue of nationality and allegiance inherent to the American system of law, an American living in one of the several states in the Union has always been able to change his nationality within the Union. The terms listed below encompass this particular legal issue. Expatriation. The voluntary act of abandoning one's country and becoming the citizen or subject of another. Bowier's Law Dictionary, 1856. Naturalization. The conferring of the nationality of a state upon a person after birth by any means whatsoever. Looks like Ballantyne's Law Dictionary, 1969. Unknown to most Americans, such matter of right is obtainable, however, for political reasons. It has been kept a secret, which will be briefly discussed in the next part. In conclusion, in pure sense, all such qualities make up the international and constitutional de jure premise of the Union. That is, each state is clearly a nation by right of law. The United States has the authority to create a uniform rule of naturalization, Article 1, or Section 8. Or is that Article I? I can't tell.
No, Article 1.
Okay. That language in itself is positive confirmation that each state is a nation and carries a nationality. Accordingly, the United States of America, in pure sense, which is based on the law of nations, is not a state, nation, or country, but merely a corporate body. Therefore, one cannot have the nationality of such. To truly maintain nationality, land is required. The United States did not possess land to support premise of nationality. Wherefore, the United States is not a state or a nation in regards to its composite stature as the government of the Union. The entity known as the United States, in most simple sense, is a corporate body that has been contracted by the several American nations to handle certain affairs.
We're going to hold up there. What they're saying here and what they're explaining to you, quite clearly, United States, America is not. State, a nation, country, nothing. All right. In order to even be classified and to maintain a nationality, land is required. The states still own a majority of their land. Only a percentage of each individual country that makes up the Union, each state, upon joining the Union, had to give up a percentage of their land to the federal government, the corporation. They did this so that the corporation, the United States, could set up such things as forts, post offices, things that are classified as federal land. Now, a little bit more history here. What happened is the further west we go, and even the further south, as far as the far south, like where I'm at down here in Florida, if we compare the Union contract, when each country, each state, joined the United States. And if we compare that land contract upon joining in comparison with the overlay of the education system, all right, in a grading sense of the citizens that live within those states, we discover that such states as Florida and Texas in the south side, and the further west we go, all the way out to California, are what they call red states. Now, I'm not talking Republican Democrat. Red as in an F grade, all right, as in poor education, as the lowest test scores, if you will, of FCATs and all these different things that they teach and they use today to calculate all this. If you overlay the land with the education, as we go further west, we see that the people become dumber. Well, in correlation to that, further west you go, the more land was required by each of those individual countries to give up in order to join the Union. Now, how does this all collate and coincide with each other? Quite simple. The more land that is controlled and run by the federal government, the less land that individual state, nation, country has to develop for citizens. In other words, no housing, no businesses, no nothing that would be considered a taxable property for the state. Less revenue. Less revenue because of less property means a poorer education. Also coincides with a higher tax base. On average. The tax base doesn't always coincide, but they run close enough. So just to give you an example of what was taking place. This also goes into the whole purpose of the war between nations. That had nothing to do with slavery, folks. That was an afterthought. That didn't come into play till after the war was already in process. The reason it all started, many people have heard of, the Fort Sumter. Well, and it was also about succeeding from the Union. Southern states wanted to succeed from the United States Corporation, foreign government, foreign territory in the Union. So that 10-mile square is nothing. It's a district. It's classified as a District of Columbia. What happens is the Southern states wanted to succeed, which would have been fine. It's also lawful for them to do so and recognize at the international level to do so. However, they tried to do it and take back their land, such as the land that Fort Sumter was on, and all federal lands. Once you give up something in contract, it's like a membership fee. I give you X amount of land to join your membership. It's non-refundable, folks. This is what the Civil War was really about. The South wanted to succeed. Okay, of course, the North didn't want them to no matter what, and the North had to start the war because the South has all the agriculture. North has the industry, South had the agriculture. Sorry, you can't eat oil for dinner, drink oil and eat metal for dinner. But we can eat our apples and oranges and all the agriculture in the world we want. You guys will be starved out, quite simply. So, of course, the North did not want to see the South disappear at all. So that was another nail in the coffin as for why they wanted to get this started. But on the international level, why they were allowed, why this war was a sanctioned war at the international level, really comes down to, hey, you broke the contract. All right, you want to succeed, fine, but you can't take back your initiation dues, your land, and that's what they tried to do. That's a breach of contract, and that's what the war was about. That was at the international level to why it was also a legitimate war, and why the war, the North could fight against the South in this manner, because they were trying to do a breach of contract, which is unlawful. This is why I always tell you, folks, no matter what topic you're talking about, no matter what part of history you're looking at, it will always come back down to a contract. Somewhere, some way, somehow, there's a contract involved. The Constitution itself, compact, the Constitution is a contract. And until the 14th Amendment, it never applied to us people. We the people are not you and me. Our signatures are not on that contract. For a contract to be valid, it requires a signature. Did you sign it? I don't think so. It wasn't until the 14th Amendment when they usurped everyone's nationality from the rightful countries and put us all in that 10-mile square and made us citizens and nationals of the United States of America, which is not a state, a nation, or a country. It's nothing. It doesn't even have the right. You can't even claim it as your nationality because there's no, it's not there, folks. You're claiming the nationality of a corporation. And people, please don't mix up your heritage. In other words, hey, my grandparents came from Ireland and Italy and all that. That's not your nationality. Your nationality is Floridian, New Jersey, and California, and Ohio, and Texan, so on and so forth, New Yorker. That's your nationality. It's all about correction of verbiage until we can learn the proper verbiage, such as rebel is not those that fought in the South. Till we learn the law definitions of words and forget about everything we were taught in the public fool system with their lies, brainwashing, indoctrination, and trickery, we're never going to be able to return to our founding fathers' understanding and definition of republic. We can do so at the international level. The individual level. We can all declare our rightful nationality with permission and declare our proper allegiance back to the de jure, back to the rightful established republic. And when you do that, again, that federal constitution that everybody knows of doesn't apply to you. I love it when people sit there and say, well, the Constitution says, and I say, which one? And then they look at you like you're a chicken with your head cut off. What do you mean, which one? Are you that stupid, man? There's only one. You ever hear we the people? Did you ever hear of each state having its own constitution, man? Yeah, I think I heard about that one. There's 51 constitutions, people. Which constitution you're referring to? As citizens, we refer to the United States Constitution. Thanks to the 14th Amendment. As one with corrected status and no longer a slave of the United States, your rightful constitution is your state's, your rightful country's constitution. Hope you enjoyed my little stoner conversation there. But anyway, sometimes we got to do that, folks. It's the only way we're going to get through it. Sometimes it takes that kind of mentality, that kind of bring it down, and to like, hey, dude, pass me a stoner. In order for some of this to kick in, for some of those light bulbs to start lighting up, if you will. We only got 3 minutes left, honey, so we're going to stop our dual citizenship paperwork there, we're at the 14th Amendment. This is going to take quite some time to get through this. I have 5 different PDFs in this particular set of classes coming up. Please do not forget about tomorrow night. joining us there. We have a lot of fun on our Thursday nights because we do cover more of the advanced topics and information. And both chats, of course, will be open. And then Friday night, there is another special broadcast here on Friday night, and I'll be introducing you guys to another great friend of mine, the theologian Andrew, and he'll cover the demographics of what's happening here in the United States and the Union with the Islam nation and what's taking place. With that, do you have anything else on your mind, dear?
No, just the usual. Thank you. We love you. And please, as Doc said, join in on tomorrow's show. I'll be there. Hopefully Jose will be there tomorrow. Do you have any idea what's going on with him?
No, last couple of days. I know he said he had a couple of things going on, so.
Okay. So, yeah, thanks, Doc. Love you as usual. And please, guys, please join us for our show on Thursday. It's very fun, and we go through a lot on the Thursday shows. Good night, Doc.
Good night, love. See you later. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you for joining us here at Freedom Reigns, Community, and the Constitution. As a nation and a country, how the USA, in any shape, their form of, is not, nor ever has been, a country. We've learned last week about the de jure and the de facto, one being de jure, which is of right, or also referred to as closer to the organics of the Constitution prior to the Reconstruction Acts, and then the de facto, which is better known as democracy. So hopefully by now you've had a chance to get that link open. If you have any questions, please call in or put them in chat. We will scroll through the chats quite often. Call a number, as always, 714-868-0749. With that, let's go over war in proper format. Now, to make a point, as discussed above, we know that California and Nevada are deemed nations under international law. Let us say that one nation attacked the other. In other words, declared war on the other for reasons or another. If you were a member of the nation of the Nevada Republic, which you would have allegiance to, there's that key word, allegiance, folks. That's why the Pledge of Allegiance is all part of the indoctrination. And I'm not sure if we've hit that show or not and covered that, but if you go to my show homepage under our team, you will see the pledge, and I'll have to go over because I can't remember what class we're up and what order we put that in, but we'll cover that. That's a short one. We can do that another time.
I'm lost. Where are we?
About halfway down to war in proper format.
Which one? Dual system or treason by design?
No, treason by design, dear. We're still finishing that up.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, which would have allegiance to? In other words, your allegiance belonged to the individual state as you were a member of, that you were born in. Well, most likely born in. And it was your republic. The founders created the republic. But you hear time and time again for the last, 100 years about the democracy and how wonderful democracy is. No, democracy is evil, folks, in a lot of ways. That's why we're out there, they're pushing democracy all over the globe. That's a New World Order issue. Well, let's continue. So how can you go to war against California, which you also have allegiance to? You can't fight on two sides, folks. The division of the North and South. You can't fight for the North and the South at the same time, as an example. Now, expand on the premise. You may have heard that the Confederate soldiers in the Civil War were deemed rebels. Well, again, this is not correct. In other words, in saying this is fraud. And we're going to learn that in the rebels definition, a term loosely but incorrectly applied to the Confederate forces engaged in the Civil War. Now, when you look at these documents, again, we explained that last week, you're going to see all those codes. That'll bring you into the references of the case, different case laws and different locations as we go through that we can use our law dictionaries for to look this up. So why? Well, there was no breach of allegiance to their nations, their individual state. There was no breach of contract. Okay, there was a law. The war, so-called Civil War, was complete, pursuant to all international laws, folks. All right, it was an international war, a war between nations, individual states, courts, the Supreme Court and all that properly call it the war between the states. There was nothing civil about it. Now let's move into let the genocide begin. What are we seeing in actually the real purpose of the so-called Civil War is genocide. This is the melding of many nations into one, which essentially destroys their ability to be sovereign. It's another word, we covered that in the first lessons with the Patriot Misbelief document, and that was one of the topics we covered was sovereign, because you hear all these people running around. If they're sovereign, I'm a sovereign citizen. Yeah, hello. Sorry, not possible. So according welcome all to the Wednesday edition of Community and the Constitution. Hope everybody's had a good week. Nothing too exciting happening in your life, I hope. And I hope you also that you've had plenty of time to catch up on some of the studies. Thank you all for joining us here. Jesse, you're on the line, dear.
Hello.
There you are.
Howdy, everybody. Hi, Doc. How you doing?
Doing just fine. Just scrolling through the chat rooms here. I posted 2 links already in both of the chats. Today we're going to finish up treason by design, and then we're going to start moving into dual citizen. The dual citizenship PDFs and threads and all expect to take us a good, at least I'd say probably close to a month to get through. So that's going to be the only link you're going to need for a while. This one particular link that hopefully we'll get into and start tonight is packinlaw.org/DUAL for dual. And that'll open that link just in case you're not in the chat room tonight. And then, of course, we're going to finish off, though, treason by design. Last week we covered a lot of information. I hope everybody's had a chance to read over that. Now, we did start to get into our treason by design paperwork, and we got down to let the genocide begin. But I'm going to scroll up just one. We're going to backtrack one section here. War in proper format. This is so important that we really grasp the understanding of what's going on here. Well, this is all about the so-called Civil War. And it also helps us understand and comprehend better what our, each state is as far as itself to the general jurisdiction of the federal government. General jurisdiction, get that? This has been accomplished through various operations of law, your silence, and also by overt acts that you have done. But here is the unconscionable act. Overt act, You may refer to it as the setup. It is a fact that you have to be a new citizen of the United States, a federal citizen, to vote in elections. You may verify that fact by searching your state statutes regarding voting. Now, although it is hard to see as the language is intentionally written to confuse people, if you decipher Section 2 of the 14th Amendment, you will see that the de facto states or governments truly only represent people who are voting, with others being put in a perilous limbo land. Remember earlier in this article it was mentioned that it is a crime to vote. Now we can take a look at how this is done. The pertinent text found in Section 2 of the 14th Amendment illustrates to us that it is a crime to vote. This is so evil, it is beyond belief. The right to vote at any election is denied except for participation in rebellion or other crime. What? Did you hear that? The right to vote at any election is denied. In other words, you're not permitted except if you are participating in rebellion or other crime. Right there it's telling you, folks, if you're a good guy, you can't vote. You must be participating in rebellion or committing another crime in order to be able to vote. You're a criminal. It tells you right in to further illustrate this farce. So let's look at the definition of Title 8, United States Code 1401. The following shall be nationals and citizens of the United States at birth. A person born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. A person born in the United States to a member of an Indian, Eskimo, Aleutian, or other aboriginal tribe, provided that the granting of citizenship under this subsection shall not in any manner impair or otherwise affect the right of such person to tribal or other property. Note the above statutory reference states a person born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof shall be a national and citizen of the United States at birth. This noted status is further defined by Title 8, United States Code 1101, A22 definitions. The term national of the United States means a citizen of the United States. In other words, a citizen of the United States is a national of the United States. Pursuant to the 14th Amendment operations, you have one nationality only, United States nationality. Of course, this is repugnant to the constitutional law and the law of nations, but again, this was all in the hidden design of the so-called Civil War, as established by its orchestrators. The communists are further reproached with desiring to abolish countries and nationalities. You don't recognize that, folks? That's one of the planks of the Communist Manifesto. All 10 planks, by the way, of the Communist Manifesto have been fulfilled here in the United States. The government of consent. Now this brings us back to the to the original question posed. Now, if you remember at the beginning of this article, we asked you two questions. What government have you consented and or submitted to? Well, according to the operations of the 14th Amendment, you have submitted